hopefully everybody has an AWS account. I won't go. Last week I went over like how to get the account started, how to set up your account, how to like secure it, secure your root account, and then create a regular user account. I think Werelock wrote a bunch of good notes down about those steps. But if anybody goes through them and has any questions later on, let me know. Feel free to hit me up on the side, and I can help get you
I,
pointed
I
there.
I do need you to approve a pull request that I did
Okay,
when you get around to it.
sweet. Okay, cool. But yeah, let's sign in. We'll sign in with our regular user. Um, and today's gonna be kind of like a ask me anything. Well, it can be if you want. Otherwise, I can start going down, like where I think we should go down next. But if anybody does anybody have like anywhere they would want to start for AWS, like questions or things that they want to learn more about, or things like that? Before I start, picking a topic and going down it.
CloudFormation.
CloudFormation. You want to jump into the big games already? I was I was been playing that CloudFormation game all day today, banging my head against the wall. Um,
Uh, what I
but
don't
yeah,
know. I mean, maybe one thing because there's CloudFormation, right? I mean, I guess well, I guess that's maybe for provisioning. Uh, but maybe after that, if you just can speak a little bit to if you're going to use Ansible, maybe in AWS.
yeah.
If you're already set up to do that, or if it's really easy to do, then
I'm not set up for that. I probably have to be like I could talk about it, but I won't be able to demo
just
it.
a little bit talk. Yeah, just
But I could talk about that. But yeah, CloudFormation. Yeah, is everybody cool with like kind of like learning about CloudFormation? Does anybody not know what CloudFormation is?
I have no idea what that is.
Okay, so CloudFormation is if you're in the cloud, CloudFormation is pretty much the easiest way to summarize it is it's well, a common word is like infrastructure as code. You might hear that spilled around, but what it pretty much means is I want to define my AWS I want to define what's in my AWS account in in the form of code. So
Yeah.
instead, oh sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
Just instead of going and pointy clicky and deploying things, or maybe writing a bunch of custom scripts to go deploy your stuff using the command line, you can use infrastructure as code where you keep all your infrastructure, like let's say I want to have all my subnets and my VPC and maybe my servers, like my EC2 instances. um, let's say I want 5 EC2 instances. I want them in a load balancer. I want them to be like fault tolerant, so I want them to be in high availability. So I want 5 servers. I want them to be behind a load balancer. I want to have like a unique like domain name for them, like a DNS name. I want to have their security groups or their quote unquote firewalls set in a specific way, and and you can do all that, and you can define it all in a text file, pretty much. So anytime you go make an update, you just go modify that text file and then redeploy it, and it will go look at your infrastructure and then deploy the difference. So let's say I have already deployed using CloudFormation, 5 servers, and I want to add a sixth one. I just go and update a value in that file and hit update, and it will go update and add a 6th server automatically. There's no scripts you have to run, no pointy clicky GUIs you got to click through. And then if you let's say you want to take what you've built and deploy it into another region, you don't need to go and like try to figure out what you did in that old server or in that old region. You can just take your template and deploy it into another region like automatically.
So real quick, if you hand built pointy clicky some whatever, right? And you're like, I'm happy with this, but you want to basically, I don't know, have CloudFormation crawl all over it and then dump the code that's associated with that, so that you can edit the code, blow away everything you got, and then replay it from your code. Can you do that? Can you dump it all out?
Dump out everything you built.
Yeah, if
Pointy
I built
cookie.
a VPC, yeah, if I built a VPC, deployed 6, EC2 instances, set up,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This
whatever,
this
can I
came.
just say, give me a bunch of CloudFormation code? It'll just scan your shit and just give you a bunch of code. And you can blow away your shit and say, okay, CloudFormation, take my code, build me another, bring it back.
Yeah, this conversation came up last week. I think there is a feature that got released recently that could do that. But I know there are some open source tools that could do that. But if it is a native feature, it's probably a new native feature that I'm not familiar with. So yeah, that's typically you'd build it all in code first and then you deploy it. But yeah, if some people might not know how to do it in infrastructure as code and they want to like deploy pointy clicky first and then and kind of see and try to see what they did. So like I said, there might be a functionality. So if anybody wants to do some homework and try to find out for me, let me know. Um, but yeah, I'll go into I'm in my account now. I'll do kind of a demo of CloudFormation. And it's going to be a very beginner focus. So folks that are familiar with this already, this is going to be like a very basic thing. But for CloudFormation, and CloudFormation is just one way to do infrastructure as code in AWS. The other very popular way to do infrastructure as code is using Terraform. Terraform is really popular. They're both ways. There's no wrong way to do it. It just depends on your scenario. A lot of folks will use Terraform if they're doing multi-cloud. But honestly, Terraform also can be easier to deploy things than CloudFormation as well. CloudFormation is kind of a pain in the ass. Terraform's kind of made things a lot easier. But CloudFormation is native to AWS, so it doesn't require any third-party tools, which definitely has its upsides. Um, I'll see if I can find an example of a template. Let's see, cloud basic template. So let me see, check on GitHub. I know they have examples on their repo. Let's see, let's look at this one right here. Simple. Let's see if I can find them that's just like easy to kind of explain.
Yeah, because if there's no clear way to go from your existing infrastructure, have it compile it out as a bunch of code which faithfully will recreate your existing infrastructure, then what that means is that your existing infrastructure could diverge from whatever you might have designed, and then it basically takes all of your code that you might have saved off in Get or wherever you've saved it off, it makes it useless.
Yeah, like I said, I think that is a new feature. I think what I heard at reInvent this year.
Love to see it. Whoever
Yeah.
finds it, be awesome.
So, yeah, these are. I was hoping to find like a really basic template real quick. Basic template, basic, super easy. Well, we can create a basic one. So, I'll just show you the console. So, in CloudFormation console, we have the things. We have CloudFormation stacks, and that's where you're going to mostly work out of for most people. A stack is a single element that includes a set of items. So let's say you're gonna we'll create we'll walk through that. So I'm gonna create a stack, and what we'll do is there's this really cool for folks that are really new to CloudFormation and want to like kind of get up and go fast. They can use this template designer, and it's kind of like like a WYSIWYG GUI for CloudFormation. So I'm going to create template use in designer, and this is not
Is this
normally
free tier?
yeah, this is free tier, and this is not normally how you'd do things, but this is a good way to get started. There might be people out there that use this all the time. I'm not super familiar with it, but we'll kind of start here. So let's say I want I want in my CloudFormation stack. So like a stack's a set of objects in AWS. So it could be a stack could include a bunch of EC2 instances and a load balancer, and it's usually like if you have an application. Let's say I have an application. It's going to be a file backup server system.
Ooh, I got an idea. Hey,
Yeah.
how about How about a EC2 that is a Windows server, and then an EC2 that is a Linux Ansible server, so you can Ansibleize the Windows server and kind
Oh,
of play into that thing Warlock said a little bit ago.
you could, yeah. Don't put me on the spot for Ansible because I'm a little
No,
rusty
you
at
don't
it.
have to do Ansible. I'm just saying, just make an EC2 Linux machine in Windows. You could put it in your formations.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
instead
yeah,
of
yeah.
defaulting. Yeah.
We could do that. So let's say we're gonna do that. So let's just say we have, and bear with me, I'm not super familiar with this WYSIWYG tool, but let's say
In here, but it looks good.
yeah, let's say we have we want to do EC2. I'm guessing host is what is it? I don't know what a host is. This might be a bad example. Um, EC2 it should be instance actually. So where's I instance? Oh, here it is right here. So I want to EC2 instance is pretty much a EC2 server. Just instance is the name they give it. Um, and oh man, I think CloudFormation might have been the wrong one to start with. Let's see. Uh, yeah, actually, I don't know. Okay, this I'm not gonna be probably pretty good at this GUI at all. Let me see if I can. CloudFormation is really it's complicated. I'm trying. Let's see. I don't know how to use this thing. I usually just so pretty much I'll kind of actually let me just give some show you what I would typically do is let's say I wanted to launch some EC2 instances. So I'd look up EC2 CloudFormation um, information in here for instance right here. Actually, let's just do this in a let's do this in like VS Code for example, and see if we can spin up like something really rudimentary. So let me just go and create, and this is not my normal work environment, so bear with me. I'll just create something in here, and we'll call this a CFN for CloudFormation template, and we'll work in YAML because JSON's a pain in the ass. So what I'll do is I looked up online like EC2 instance CloudFormation. So there's all this great documentation, or else it's okay documentation for CloudFormation. But if I want to create a what was that?
Is there a new syntax? Isn't it other than JSON? Isn't there like a new? I
There's
can't remember.
there's YAML.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, YAML's
Okay,
like
that's the new hotness, right? The old
uh
stuff is in JSON, and then everything new now is in like the new format.
yeah, you can use JSON or YAML. YAML it just it depends on the person or the environment, but I like working in YAML because it's just easier. You can comment it out and easier to work with, and less curly brackets to remember.
And I know when other people, when you go and look out into the interwebs, you'll find that a lot of older CloudFormation is in JSON,
Yeah.
and I learned it before after YAML was put into place, and so I was doing YAML, and then like I go to search for something, and I'm like, what is this JSON crap? It's what I want, but it's not in YAML.
Oh
What do
yeah,
I do?
yeah, and luckily you can convert JSON to YAML. There's if you use VS Code,
Oh, really?
there's a tool, there's an extension. I think it's called like YAML JSON. Um,
That's cool.
JSON, yeah, like there it is. Actually, I think that was it right here. YAML to JSON, and you can literally, you can literally just click a button and it'll switch back and forth.
Oh man, awesome. Well, thank you
Yeah,
for showing me that. That helps a
it's just a
ton.
syntax thing. So YAML and JSON are like the same. They're all like embedded dictionaries in a way to kind of think about it, or maps, but they're just the syntax is slightly different. So so if we wanted to look up, and like I said, this is the way I'm doing it, which is not going to be very pretty, but let's if we find like if we go in here and we look for the basic CloudFormation template. We can go to user guide and let me just find a template reference. I might have to prepare a better demo for this later on. Let me just see if I can find instead of like doing all this from scratch, let me just see if I can find a better template and I can just launch it and kind
I
of
can
go
give you my
over it.
template.
Do you have a
I can
template?
give you mine.
Yeah, give
Yep,
me.
it's right there.
Where's
Put
it
it
at?
in the meetup text.
Oh, okay. Let me do that because that'll be easier than and I can kind of just go over it and how it works. And then we can, if it's easy, if it's not that bad, we can launch it. Oh yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's grab this and we'll put it into VS Code. And okay, so this is Jesse's, and I'll go over what this is. So this is CloudFormation template. At the base of the templates, you have parameters, and parameters are like kind of like variables in a way. You can define like here's a parameter for instance type parameter, workstation IP, and these will be referenced later on under in the rest of the template. So you have the parameter section, and then you have the resource section, and then you have an output, and then you have an output section. So pretty much parameters are like variables that can be referenced throughout the template, and that those will be referenced under resources. So all your resources that the CloudFormation will launch will be under resources. So this example is his template's creating a VPC. It's creating an internet gateway.
What's the VPC for those that don't?
Oh yeah, VPC is virtual private cloud, which is like the networking environment that your systems will live in. Like if you're using EC2 instances or lambdas or things like that, they'll live inside of a network. If you do put them inside of the network, that network is the VPC. So we have a like the CIDR block subnet that's going to be covering the whole entire VPC. I'm sure there's probably a chart out there that will visualizes a lot better. We have an internet gateway that gets defined. Is this a working template, by the way?
Yeah, it is. You might have to switch out an AMI because they're always updating the AMI.
Okay. So yeah, so
I did do the workstation at 000, so that means anybody can RDP to it.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. So
yeah, and you'd have to change the key.
Okay, the key. Okay.
Yeah, the key, right? The PEM key.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we have a VPC that's gonna be deployed. We'll have an internet gateway, which pretty much allows traffic from your instances, internet traffic from your instances, to go out to the web and vice versa. Not to be confused with a NAT gateway. That's separate. VPC attachment. This will define where the VPC will get it, where the VPC internet gateway is attached. It'll be attached to this VPC. And those that are new to AWS, this is going to be really, really confusing. So I'm trying to make it as dumbed down as possible. Here's the subnet that we're going to define within the VPC. So the VPC is typically a single larger subnet, and then or is a larger CIDR range, and then you can break out subnets inside that VPC. So here's a single subnet that's a 10/24 subnet. The routing table that's set up for making sure that the network connectivity is going the direction it should be. The routing table for the internet gateway, which is allowing inbound from anywhere. The route table for the subnet, and then we get into the EC2 piece of it, which is the security group. So somewhere down here, we'll actually have an instance defined, an actual EC2 instance, and we'll have the security group, which is like a host-based firewall, kind of in a way to think about it, defined here. And you take these security groups and you attach them to instances. So this security group says ingress, so inbound to your host, we're going to allow 3389, which is RDP, from any host on the web inbound. So that'll be the ingress traffic. And then the egress traffic, the traffic that's exiting the host, we're going to allow it to go anywhere on any protocol.
Got a question for you.
Yeah.
So does CloudFormation have an API?
It does, yeah.
Okay, so if you wanted to use it's nice to see that there's code. It's nice to know that you can like copy a template, tweak the code, And then maybe if you don't change it that much, or if you just go, well, I'll just reuse my old template and tweak it a little bit or whatever, that's pretty much your hacking on this stuff by hand. Versus if you have like maybe Python, right, where it was talking directly to the CloudFormation API, it could just issue all this JSON spewed out, generated by some Python code or some other program, right? So literally, you could just have an application that you're just like saying, I kind of want this sort of a thing, right? This is a sort of a configuration, and it goes,
Yeah.
oh, I know what you mean, and it just goes, speaky cloud formation, blah 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 blah, right? Speaks Greek to it,
Yeah.
and it just does it.
So you can automate. You can actually automate, or you can, yeah, you can programmatically build CloudFormation templates using Troposphere, which is a Python library um, that will actually you can programmatically create CloudFormation templates on the fly. So that's one
Is it
way to
is it like
do
a
it.
is that like a PyPy kind of thing, or
Exactly. Yeah.
you just simply found it here in this GitHub?
It's a
Oh,
it's PyPy as well.
Okay.
And then you have AWS. I think it's CDW. I think. Hold on. Is it CDW? No. Oh, what is it? Do you know, Jesse? It's the CloudFormation. It's the CDK. CDK. AWS CDK. Yeah, right here. So this CDK is like AWS's version of Troposphere that allows you to programmatically create CloudFormation on the fly. But yeah, see, so those two options are the ways you can programmatically create these CloudFormation templates on the fly. That's going to be for more complex projects where you want to dynamically create objects and templates. But that's the way you do it. AWS CDK is like the newer kid on the block to do that. And it supports. I think at first it only supported like TypeScript and JavaScript, and now it supports Python. So something to keep in mind. But go back here. So we have we have a elastic IP address that's defined here, which will be attached to the Windows server. So when the Windows server spins up, it will actually get a public IP address assigned to it automatically, and that's what this elastic IP address will do. Um, and then we get into the actual EC2 instance, which is defined here, which is going to be from at least the title of the object. And these object titles are they don't they don't really mean anything. You can name them whatever you want. They're just references. So so we have is an EC2 instance. So the type is an EC2 instance. The AMI, which is like the ID, like the golden image ID. This reference right here says reference AMI. This when I was talking up top about parameters. This is this. If you look up here for AMI, this parameter will be filled in automatically to anywhere that has this ref AMI here. So it's just a reference to a parameter. That way you can use the same parameter over and over again and have an easy place to change that information at. And then you have information type, or sorry, instance type. So this is going to be probably referenced up here. Yeah, so it's a T2 micro. And then we have the name of the key, which is looks like it's 404 null is the name of the key. So this is like this is the RSA SSH key that's used, and you use SSH keys actually with Windows instances as a way to unlock your Windows password when you spin up the instance. I'll show a demo of that. I don't know if I covered it last week. So I got to remember too. I'll create a key with that same name for reference, and then you have the security group. So we reference we mentioned up here we're creating a security group that's going to be attached to the instance. It's kind of like that host-based firewall in a way. You can see it reference the name right here. So when this gets created, the system's smart enough to actually pick up that security group that gets created up here and place and reference it here when the instance gets created. Then we have the block device mapping, which is the actual hard drive on here, and he's defined 250 gigs. So that will be a 250 gig drive will be attached to the instance when the system's loaded up. And then he has user data, which is an area where you can define like a startup script when the system's booted up. So when the system's booted up, it looks like it's gonna use NuGet as the package installer, and it's going to set the execution policy. It's gonna install. This is gonna install Atomic Red Team. It looks like. Is that about right? Yeah, it looks like it's gonna install.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yep.
Yep. And then a tag. This will be the name of the server right here. So anything with the name tag will be the actual name. It will show up in the console. And then that's what's going to be created. Really, this is a great template. I appreciate it, Jesse. This will be super. This is a really easy one to kind of explain. And this right here will build out this whole little lab environment. And if we wanted to add in like a bunch of other servers, like let's say we wanted some Linux servers in this lab, we could just go and literally, let's say we wanted, like another, say another Windows server for this example. We can come over here and literally just copy and paste this and change this to Windows number 2. And literally, we can make that modification. So when this thing runs, we'll have a second Windows server that's spun up. So we'll just keep that in here just to show how easy it is to kind of like copy resources. And I'll just name this business.
I don't know if you have to change the output too at the bottom. Add that.
Yeah, and this outputs. I don't think it's technically necessary. Is this being used for anything? Do you know?
Just to see it.
Just to see it. Okay. Yeah. So if you're the cool thing about output is you can use this. You can take this out information. What I'll do is this will gather the Windows 01 server and the public IP address, and it will actually output it in the template, and that information can be then used for like other templates. Can reference this data from this one template. That's kind of what outputs are for.
Yeah, and I think in the GUI there's an area too where there's a tab of outputs.
Yeah.
I think it helps populate that. Which if you run this, then we'll see that.
Yep.
The difference where you're like, oh.
Let's run that. So yeah, we'll get ready to run this. One thing I have to do is I'm gonna go to EC2, and I will make sure I create that key because it's gonna complain, and I'll make sure I get the latest AMI as well too. So let me create a key. There it is, key pairs. And I'm going to name this. I'll just make sure it's got the same name, identical, and just call it 404 null. And I'll just keep everything the same. And I'll create the key pair. It's going to ask me where I want to save that key pair. I'm going to save it to my downloads. This will be the private key that will be saved to my desk or to my system. And then the public key will be, well, actually with Windows, the public key won't be passed to Windows, but on Linux, the public key would be passed to Linux. And then let me get the AMI. So I'm going to go over to AMIs. Actually, I think it's AMI catalog, and let me look for Windows server.
I think it's like a Windows server. Yeah.
Just do.
I think I made it be like a base with container.
Okay, probably doesn't matter. I'll just use this guy right here. So I'll use the Windows.
Sometimes it matters, but yeah.
Sometimes it does, but for this case, I don't think it will. So I'm updating the information on this on my side window, and then let me just check the VPC and make sure I don't have a VPC with the same IP address space, which I probably don't. No, okay. So this is the default VPC. So now that I got this file, I'm going to save this. I think it should work, but it will let us know if it doesn't. It's fairly verbose. So I'm going to go look up CloudFormation.
You did put the AMI in there?
I did, yeah. I pasted it off screen. So I'm going to go to create stack, and then I am going to go upload a template file. So I'm going to go choose a file, go find the file I just saved. Shit, what did I name it? Oh, you know what? It's actually it's in here. Okay, so I took the file that we just created. I uploaded it here. You can view it in Designer if you wanted to. Let's see what this does. Oh yeah, so this visually, this is that all that text. This, if you wanted to use the Visual Designer, that was your preferred method. This is what this would generate the same exact thing here. I honestly don't know how any of this works. I just haven't used the designer, but I'm sure. Actually, I probably should do it because it probably would make my life easier. Instead of doing it by hand, I do it all by hand, which is probably like pretty dumb. Okay, so I'm just gonna call this s1nack test stack, and then the parameters that we showed in the duck in the file, which were here. These parameters: instance type, workstation IP, AMI key. These are actually all referenced right here, so I could change these here as well if I wanted to. Is this IP address need to be changed?
You could make it public if you want, just your public IP. But this way, anybody from anywhere in the world can access it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll just leave it default right now. They can compromise it. Go ahead. Okay, so from here, these are additional options for your stack. So you can add tags to your stack if you wanted to. You can add additional IAM permissions if you had a specific IAM role you created. And like I mentioned last week, IAM roles are kind of used for defining what a resource can do or can't do. It's yeah, like a permissions policy. And then we have other features here, like if a stack fails, you can have it roll back. So let's say you have a state that gets, when we deploy it, let's say we deploy it and it deploys successfully and it's now in that state. Let's say we're gonna make a change to it and we're gonna go and update the stack. If that change fails, you can actually have it roll back to the previous state automatically. So those are some options you can do. I'm gonna leave all this default. I'm gonna move on to the next. And then from there, I'm just going to check everything's good. Now I'm just going to hit submit. And then, as you can see, we have the stack that's currently trying to create. If we go over to template, you can see that stack that that file that we had over in VS Code is visible right here as well. If you want to see the template in its raw format, you can see what's going on right now. So right now it's creating the instance security group, the subnet, routing table. The VPC is already created, which is cool. This is in chronological order, so the top is the latest changes. So it starts here and it goes up. So a lot of things are still in progress. If I hit refresh, you can see we've made some more progress. You have to refresh it to see things change. So the security group got created, the routing table got created, the subnet got created, the VPC gateway is created, internet routing table is created, and so it does take a while for things to get kind of generated. You can if you go to resources tab here, you can see all the things that were deployed in your stack and their current status. So it looks like right now Windows is launching. Windows 02 already got created, the instance, and Windows 01's getting created right now. If you click on this link here, it'll actually take you to the EC2 instance itself, and you can see its status. So you can see it's already up. So on this EC2 instance page, if I close out of this filter, you can see that server 01 and 02 have automatically been created from that template. We can go over to VPC and see all our items in the VPC that were created. So we have, go over to VPC. You see that subnet that was defined in the template was created, or sorry, the VPC itself. The subnet, which is, I think this one right here, was created. Routing tables, internet gateways, the security group, right here. Hey, Warlock, we're hearing your conversation. Sounds like you're ordering a pizza.
Hey, Sean, real quick, how much longer do you think this is going to be?
Probably we can wrap it up in like 10 minutes.
Oh yeah, check the output. What's the
Yeah.
output? Oh, yeah.
Outputs. Yep. Okay. So here's the public IP address.
But you're only gonna get the one, right? Because we
Yeah.
only did the one. So this is
Yeah.
what I meant for the outputs. If we wanted to see it, we had to put it in that output area to
Yeah,
see
that's
it. But
true.
yeah,
So, but yeah, the whole
that was a
stack's
pretty fun.
created. So everything that was defined in that template got created successfully, which is great. That's pretty rare to have everything go in its first go, which is cool. I'm excited.
Well done.
So you can see, yeah. So these are all the items that live in the stack. Um, you can. The cool thing about stacks is, let's say we want to make a change to the stack. Um, all we have to do is go to update, and it's going to ask for that file. So let's say we're going to go back to the file, and we are going to change something. Let's say we are going to change, we're going to add a tag. It's probably the easiest thing to show. So let's say we're going to add a tag, and this is kind of bothering me. There you go, fix that. And let's just say we're going to add a tag called, let's just call it environment. And we're just going to call this test. And we're going to hit save. That's the only change we made to this one server, Windows 02. And then actually, why don't we go and we can go add this output too. Okay, so we made those two changes, and now we're going to go back to the browser and upload the new template. So replace existing template with a new template. Choose the file, got the file, go to next. Oh, something's pissed something off here. This is sometimes these are not very descriptive. I think it's probably related to that last change I made in regards to down here. Yeah, it's somewhere down here. Get attribute. I don't know why, but let's just remove this for right now, and we'll keep this is a change that we've made that we'll add it. We're gonna add a new tag to Windows Server 02. So let's go back and we're gonna upload this file again to the latest version. So if you click out of here, hit next, which yeah, it did successfully go next, and then we're just gonna hit next again, and we're just gonna say everything's all good, and we want to push out this new change. You can actually, if you hit view change set, you can actually see what changes are going to be made. So you can see there's a modify action on Windows Server 2. It doesn't really give you much detail of what changed, but it says Server 02 is going to be modified in some way. So I'm gonna hit execute change set, and it's asking if there's a failure you want to roll back, and we'll just say yes. And then right now it's updating, the updates in progress, and then you can see Windows 2, the server's being updated. And if we go back to the instances over to Server 02 to the tags, you'll see that new environment tag we added to the CloudFormation template has been added there. So well, let's check this and see if it's completed. Yep, update completed. So yeah, that's how pretty much it. And kind of lastly too, the cool thing about CloudFormation stacks is everything you create in the stack is kind of all packaged together. So let's say you wanted to delete everything that was part of that stack. You can literally just hit delete, and all the resources that are part of that stack will be torn down together. And that way you don't have to go hunt down things that you thought you changed, but maybe you didn't, or you did change and forgot you changed. So it's all kind of in this single package, which is great.
Are you gonna RDP to it just to show that
Yeah,
it is indeed a Windows server?
yeah. So let's go to this Windows server here, and to get the password on a Windows server, you'll right click and you'll go to security, and you'll say get Windows password, because we never set a password when this server is created, so we need a way to know how to sign in. So we're going to right click, and we're going to say go over to security and get Windows password. and it's asking for our private key contents to unlock the password. So since this is kind of a demo, I'll just go and grab that key, and let me just put it into VS Code. And
Just hit the upload private key button, right?
yeah, oh yeah, actually, let me just go do it that way. So I usually just copy and paste it, but this is smarter. Download.
So you could do the other one. That's good to know.
Where did I put that file at? Hold on, let me go check my Null.
So if
Oh,
you ever
it's
downloaded it,
it's a
created it.
oh crap! I created it, but I saved it as a freaking saved it as a putty file. Oh yeah. Oh, I don't have the tools converted over to a non-putty file. Man. Okay. Well, I can't demo this because I don't want to go deal with putty right now. But yeah, if you've downloaded your SSH key correctly, your private key, you can just literally upload the private key here, hit decrypt password, and it will give you the administrator password. You can then copy that, open up open up remote desktop client, come over to find the public IP address for the server. This is the ENI. Copy it, go over to RDP, plug it in here, hit connect. It's going to ask you for your username and your password, and then hit OK, and it will connect. But I won't be able to connect because I don't have the password. So, does that make sense?
Yep.
Anybody have any questions? I know this is kind of like it was not really prepared for this one specifically, but it's good. It's a good subject to bring up.
Great job, man. No, this is awesome.
I appreciate it.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So the free tier you get something 750 hours, whatever. Is it if you do this CloudFormation stuff and you have a built-out template, but the instances are not running, is it that you only get charged those hours against the instances running?
I believe so. I think they have to be running. If they're not running, they're considered stopped, and you're technically charged for the EBS volumes. Storage for the storage, but I believe if they're in a stop state, you're not being charged. I could be wrong, but I think that's correct.
I think as long as it's pay as you can, I think there's another way where you're charged whatever all the time.
Yeah, that's something that I'm sure someone's answered it on the internet, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, just use the free tier stuff. Like that Windows server was probably free tier.
Well, yeah,
There's
dude.
times when you have to make bigger ones.
Yeah, and I as we found out last week, they're in the under the billing page, and when you're signed in as your admin account. I don't know if we'll have access to it from this account, but there is a billing, or there's a I don't have permissions with this account, but there's a free tier little chart that'll show you where you're at with your free tier and if you're about to go over. So that's a new feature that was added in recently, I think. But yeah, and then kind of to show how to tear down the stack. So we have all these things. We can just literally go to delete, and when we hit delete, now it's going to go and slowly delete each item. So that way we don't have to forget. Oh crap, we left 5 servers running. Or we left this one internet gateway enabled, or this or that. Things that could be costing you money. You can literally just delete it. So you can spin up a lab, use it, and then when you're done with it, tear it down, and you're not being charged for anything. And then later on, when you want to use it again, spin it up, do your thing, tear it down, you're done. So that's some of the power you get with this, which is really really cool. I think, and everybody loves hearing me talk about this, but Detection Lab, which is like one of my favorite repos on the internet. This is their website. Is everybody here familiar with Detection Lab, or who's not familiar with Detection Lab?
No.
Trying to get it going in VirtualBox, and it's a pain right now.
Yeah, VirtualBox. I've used it in VirtualBox before. I've used it and contributed to their VMware setup. That's pretty good. Not VMware Workstation, but VMware. I don't see it in here, but they actually they do support actual like vSphere. And then it looks like I think Proxmox they are starting to support, but AWS you could literally uh, deploy Detection Lab. I know I didn't really explain what it is. Detection Lab is a pretty much a one-click lab environment where you can literally run one or two commands, and it'll go and build you automatically a whole lab that includes like a logging system using like all these tools, Suricata, Splunk, Zeek, all these, um, a bunch of tools, and then it will create you a domain environment. So a domain controller and two member servers, and it'll create all this automatically with one click, one or two clicks. And then from here you can do attack simulations and things like that, and then you can attempt to detect them using their tools. But yeah, they have support for AWS. So if you were going to, where is it at? If you were going to deploy this, they actually have. It looks like they use Terraform, and they go over the steps of how to deploy this environment using Terraform. Terraform, like I said, it's very similar to CloudFormation, where you can go and you can one-click deploy the whole lab, and then when you're done with it, you can just hit delete, and it'll go and tear down everything. So yeah, very similar. Definitely yeah, good.
And I also posted in the meetup text what I've used for detection lab in my own self is I couldn't do the Terraform that this required. I was like, it was just something I had to like sit and like learn and do the thing. And so I tried to find every other way to do it faster. And so I found this thing called Snap Labs, and they literally have a template, and you literally just press the template button, and it does the Terraform, all the stuff for you into AWS. Yes, you have to link your AWS account to Snap Labs for them to go ahead and build it out in your AWS. But it's literally like a one-click deal. It's so cool.
Yeah, that's something I want to play around with that more. We have actually Kevin and I have I think some ideas that we might be maybe using SnapLab for in the future for sure.
1000%.
Although, yeah, they changed it. It's now called like, oh gosh, what is it called now? It's like it got bought out by somebody else. It's here. Try this link. That it might show off the new text.
This one here. Oh, okay. No, I gotta sign in. I don't think I have an account. Womp womp.
I just registered real quick.
Was this this one this is a detection lab template?
That is a detection lab template. Like here, I'll just post. Literally, it has the button on the page. Once you log in, you just and it tells you how much it thinks you'll have to pay per hour too. Which
Okay.
is super cool.
Yeah.
So here, I'll just and it gives you like a little graph that you can like make big, make small. It says, oh, this connects to that, that connects to that. So I put in the meetup text. But basically, the thing that's under sharing, under public template, that thing in the box, that's the link you would just.
Yeah, 64 cents an hour is not bad.
Yeah, and you just got your lab, boom, all done. Don't have to fiddle with nothing. Don't have to learn no Terraform.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, but I want to do VirtualBox on a machine I just bought because I didn't want to pay that 64 cents an hour. But it's not really working out very well, so I probably have to end up doing this more now that I can't really rely on the VirtualBox version.
Yeah. Well, let me. If you want to do a demo in the future, let me know.
Oh, as far as like the just getting Snap Labs up and running?
Well, yeah, Snap Labs are doing it for Detection Lab.
Oh, for you mean VirtualBox that I was doing?
Yeah, I can do demo too in the future too. Actually, I just
Oh, I couldn't get it to work though. Like it would get a bunch of stuff like up, but like say Velociraptor was not on, like we'd have the server, but it wasn't on all three of the Windows boxes. It was like on the WEF only.
oh
Yeah, there was just weird like inconsistencies with it.
yeah.
It wasn't perfect, and I think the detection lab and Snap labs will just come up perfect every time. But I don't quote me. I'm gonna double check that. I didn't look into it as much as because I was trying to get the VirtualBox instance going because I didn't want to pay. But now that doesn't really work very well, it appears, I'm gonna do it this way, and yeah, I can let you know how this goes. But yeah, the VirtualBox, I can't. Go
Uh-oh.
ahead.
No, I think that was feedback from somebody.
I thought they said VirtualBox, but yeah, I can't get VirtualBox to go correctly, so I wouldn't feel good giving a demo of it. Um, just yeah, just this one.
Are you still
Literally,
recording?
No, I'm still recording. But okay, well, cool. Yeah, and actually, I hope one thing I just realized, I don't know if I clicked the button to record my actual own voice. So, hopefully, I guess we'll find out in post-production if you guys can actually hear me. I know I can hear you, but I think I might have fat-fingered and clicked the wrong button. But hey, it's good to try this out once, or try to get the bugs out. Um, but yeah, that was pretty much I think all we have time for today in regards to AWS. I know anybody next we can, if we want to do like a AMA style thing, we can, or next week we can do a structured thing. Just let me know maybe let me know beforehand what topics you guys would like to be covered if they want to be. I went over last week. I went over a little bit of EC2, a little bit of S3. We can revisit that again, or we can go into Lambda. Lambdas are I'm very familiar with Lambdas, and I can do a deep dive in that on how Lambdas work. I'm trying to think what
what's a
other.
good thing to do with Lambda, or what's a very common thing?
So like Lambdas are great because you can pretty much do anything with them. I mean, a good example, something I was working on today was I was having um, a like alarm for a service hit a Lambda, and that Lambda was sending a message to Slack to Slack us in a channel. That's a good example. Um, so yeah, pretty much. I mean, for folks that aren't familiar with lambdas, and I'll go over this some more next week. Lambdas are pretty much they're like little containers where you can run just snippets of code. It could be full programs, or it could be like small scripts, and you can have them trigger on a cadence like every 5 minutes or every hour, or you can have an action within your account trigger them. So let's say you want to have every time somebody creates an S3 bucket, you want to add a tag to that bucket automatically. What you could do is you can use like CloudTrail to detect anytime a bucket's created to using Event Bridge, you can say uh, uh, detect when a bucket's created, and then go trigger a lambda to then automatically add that tag programmatically to that bucket. That's a good example. So the lambda itself would just have a little script in there that would say it would gather the data from the bucket, get the bucket name, and it would go and programmatically add the tag to the bucket. And a good example of the code for that would be let's see, S3 put tag. So does anybody want a quick demo? I could demo this real quick, actually, really quick. Does anybody have time?
I know we got to have a little talk afterwards, so I was trying to wrap you up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm for maybe pushing it to next week so we can do this meeting afterwards.
Okay, sounds good. Um, Yeah, I should probably call